Welcome to this week's installment of our Football Officials video training series. We're studying the National Federation of High School Rules and Five-Man Mechanic. This video is brought to you by the Arkansas Association of High School Officials, the AAHSO, helping good officials get better. Technical assistance provided by Dax Hill, Greg Downham, and George Demetrio. Produced by Matt Biven. Our executive in charge of production is Walt Coleman. I'm your host, Todd Allen. A little late getting the rule change video out, but better late than never. Let's get started. The 2023 NFHS Football Rule Change video, and we're going to start with the Uniform Police in 1.5.3A5A45, new uniform adornment for towels. It's legal for a player to have one moisture-absorbing, solid color towel that has no more than one manufacturer's logo or trademark, and it cannot exceed 2 1/4 inches square, and one school logo that also may not exceed 2 1/4 inch square. Towels do not have to be the same color, but they do have to be a solid color. There's only 2 restrictions. The towel may not be the same color as the ball, nor may it be the same color of a penalty flag. Other than that, solid colored towels with those restrictions on the logos are perfectly legal, no matter what color they are, no matter how many different colors the team has. Let's jump into Rule 2. You know how much I love Rule 2, 2.29.1, because these are definitions. If you understand the definitions, it is much easier to officiate the game of football, and we're going to codify the definition of a player out of bounds. Let's look at this play. A1 throws a legal forward pass to A2, who runs and touches beyond the end line and then leaps while airborne and bats the pass to A3, and A3 catches the batted pass. A2 is out of bounds as he has not had any part of his body touch inbounds. Therefore, when A2 intentionally touches the ball after being out of bounds, he's caused the ball to become dead. The pass is incomplete, and A2 is guilty of illegal participation. This change really clarifies when a player's inbounds after being out of bounds. There's no change to any foul or subsequent penalty provisions or any rules related to illegal participation or the provisions regarding eligibility to touch the pass. We're staying with Rule 2, and we're in 232.16D and new 9.43G, defenseless receivers. Now, if you look at this play pick here, the receiver's not defenseless because the opponent is attempting to tackle by wrapping the arms around the receiver. We need to really dive in a little deeper to Rule 2.32.16, and I want to go through this definition because I think this is important. We've had a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about what's a defenseless player and what contact is or is not a foul on a defenseless player, because clearly you can make contact on a defenseless receiver. What the rule has always prohibited is what the rule deemed as unnecessary or excessive, and which incites roughness, and that's kind of vague, and we've been kind of all over the place with that, and the coaches, players, and the game officials just want to understand a little bit more about what we're trying to do here. So what we've got in this rule is a defenseless player who, because of his physical position and focus of concentration, is especially vulnerable to injury. A player who initiates contact against a defenseless player is responsible for making legal contact. When in question, a player is defenseless. Examples of defenseless players include, but are not limited to, a passer, a receiver attempting to catch a pass who has not had time to clearly become a runner, the intended receiver of a pass in the action during and immediately following an interception or potential interception. A receiver in B and C above, including the person intercepting the pass, who is forcefully contacted by an opponent and that contact is not incidental contact as a result of making a play on the ball, initiated with open hands, or an attempt to tackle by wrapping up the arms around the receiver, which is what we see already in this play pick. So when you're wrapping up, or you're initiating contact with open hands, or you're making incidental contact in an attempt to play the ball, that is not deemed unnecessary or excessive, which incites roughness. We're talking about defenseless players. We're talking about those decleaters when you just go in and you know the contact is so rough and so hard, and it's made with the shoulder, the head down, any of those things where it just incites roughness. And this is much easier to identify when you see it than try to explain it in the context of a rule. And that's what the NFHS is having trouble with here. But what they've added is some very specific language that will give you some guidance and some assistance on identifying what's unnecessary or what incites roughness. And here's some clear examples of things that do not. The receiver is not defenseless even if the contact by the opponent is forceful, because this contact is initiated with open hands. The contact could be pass interference, however. Here's another example of what is not forcible contact, but in addition, this is not a receiver that is defenseless because of this incidental contact as a result of the defender making a play on the ball. When we talk about incidental contact and we talk about playing on the ball, this is really important also when we're talking about offensive pass interference and defensive pass interference and the categories and philosophies that go along with those plays. I think you're going to like this change to intentional grounding, and I'm not sure this is not the way we were already doing it, but 7.5.2, intentional grounding exception. It's legal for a player positioned directly behind the snapper to conserve time by intentionally throwing the ball forward to the ground immediately after receiving the snap that has neither been muffed nor touched the ground. It is also legal now for a player to conserve yardage by intentionally throwing an incomplete forward pass if all of the following conditions are met. The passer has possessed the ball beyond the lateral boundary of the free blocking zone as established at the snap. The pass reaches the neutral zone, including the extension beyond the sideline, and the passer is the only player to possess the ball after the snap ends. The change permits the exception for intentional grounding to the first and only player to possess the ball after the snap ends. So we're used to seeing it played this way. This is the NFL version. This is the NCAA version, or much closer to what it is than what we had, which previously just allowed any player to legally ground the ball by doing those things. But now it's limited to the player who receives the backward pass at the start of the scrimmage down. I like this change. I think this is good for the game, and I think you're going to like it too. Hey, we even deleted something regarding pass interference. And we deleted 7.5.2c, which was intentional pass interference. The additional penalty for potential pass interference, as illustrated in Play Pick A, has been deleted. The Team B player in the gray jersey will be penalized 15 yards for pass interference that he committed in Play Pick B. By removing quotation intentional, close quotes, from pass interference, the change puts the rule in line with how the penalty's already been enforced, which is a 15-yard penalty. I don't recall in all of my time ever seeing anyone apply the intentional application of pass interference. And if they had ever done it, I would have told them they were wrong, even though the rule said they were right. Because you don't let the rules get in the way of a good game. This is a great deletion from a pass interference, the intentional aspect of it. So, good change. We're going to make some changes to how penalty enforcement takes place, especially for the offense. This is in 10.4, and it has a lot to do with the basic spot, and there's a big chart in here that we'll go through line by line. But this change restructures and clarifies the amendments to Rule 10 to eliminate the excessive penalty enforcement for offensive fouls that occur behind the line of scrimmage. This revision stipulates the basic spot for enforcement of fouls behind the line of scrimmage is the previous spot rather than the spot of the foul unless otherwise specified by rule. Current penalties for illegal kicking, batting, and participation fouls, and provisions for offensive fouls occurring in the end zone that may result in a safety remain intact. So let's just look at this, and this is broken down by A and B. And let me tell you the way I remember this really is for fouls that occur behind the previous spot, if they involve player fouls, like holding, those fouls go back to the previous spot. If it's a player and the ball, like illegal kicking or illegal batting, those are spot fouls because the statement of penalty enforcement stipulates that those are spot fouls. So let's just look at this chart. We'll start here on the top line. A foul by A behind the line of scrimmage, and the end of the play is behind the line of scrimmage. The basic spot is the previous spot. The second line, the foul is by Team A. The spot of the foul is behind the line of scrimmage, but the play is going to end beyond the line of scrimmage. The basic spot is still the previous spot. In the next one, it's a foul by A. The spot of the foul is beyond the line of scrimmage, and the end of the play is behind the line of scrimmage, so the basic spot remains the previous spot. There's two more for A here. The first one is beyond the line of scrimmage, and the play ends beyond the line of scrimmage. The foul behind end of the run or related run is a spot foul. Beyond the line of scrimmage, and the end of the play is beyond the line of scrimmage. Foul advance of end of the run or related run is the succeeding spot. And we'll go through a few of these probably in week 1 of the training video. We just need to see a couple of these on video so we can add some commentary to and make this a little bit easier. Let's talk about some fouls by Team B, and there are 4 of them here. The first 2, both the spot of the foul is behind the line of scrimmage. In the first one, the end of the play is behind the line of scrimmage, so the basic spot is the previous spot. Now the second one, the spot of the foul is behind the line of scrimmage, and the end of the play is beyond the line of scrimmage. So this defensive foul is simply a tack on. You just add it to the end of the run. 2 more for B, both of them beyond the line of scrimmage. The first one, the play ends behind the line of scrimmage. We're going to the previous spot. The last one, the foul is beyond the line of scrimmage, and the end of the play is beyond the line of scrimmage. This one's easy. We're just going to tack it on. Just add it right on to the end of the play. The basic spot is the spot of the foul when A commits any foul in his end zone for which the penalty is accepted, and this is in 8.5.2c. And those are those fouls that we're talking about would result in a safety. Let's take a look at this play pick right here, and this is 10.4.2d, a basic spot for a running play with penalty enforcement. Number 1, Team A fouls behind the line of scrimmage, and 2, the run ends behind the line of scrimmage. The enforcement, and you look here on 3, the enforcement penalty from the previous spot or the spot of the snap. We will run through these play picks pretty quickly because these are going to enforce what we just talked about in the chart. The run ends here. Team A is going to foul behind the line of scrimmage. The run's going to end beyond the line of scrimmage, so the enforcement spot is the previous spot. Here's 10.4.2f. This is a Team A fouls beyond the line of scrimmage. The run ends behind the line of scrimmage. The enforcement spot is the previous spot. 10.4.4d here. Team A run beyond line of scrimmage, beyond the spot of the foul. Team A fouls occurs behind the end of the run. Enforce the penalty from the spot of the foul. Pay close attention to 10.4.5e. Team A fouls beyond line of scrimmage, beyond end of run. The run ends beyond line of scrimmage, behind spot of the foul. Enforce the penalty from the end of the run. Remember, we're going to give them all the yardage they gain legally. So in 10.4.2d, Team B fouls behind the line of scrimmage. The run ends behind the line of scrimmage. This is a behind. We enforce this from the previous spot. No change in this rule, but just for clarification, Team B fouls behind the line of scrimmage. The run ends beyond the line of scrimmage. You're just going to tack it on. This is a Team B foul that you can just add on to the end of the run. Team B fouls beyond the line of scrimmage. The run ends behind the line of scrimmage. You now will just enforce this one from the previous spot. Here's another one I really like because it's easy and this is not a change for us. Team B foul occurs beyond the line of scrimmage, beyond the end of the run. The end of the run is beyond the line of scrimmage, behind the spot of the foul. You're just going to tack this on. Just add it right on to the run. You want to talk a little 6-man football? Rule 7G, new, handing the ball forward. A direct forward handoff may be made during a scrimmage down before a change of possession, provided both players are in or behind the neutral zone, unless it is to the snapper. The change allows the ball to be handed forward on a running play, including to guards and ends, while prohibiting handing the ball to the snapper, provided both players are behind the neutral zone. Here is a couple of slides where the board made a couple of editorial changes to the rules. This is rule references and a brief description of the football editorial changes that were made to the 2023 Football Rules book. And there are a couple of slides here that I'm going to invite you to just pause if you'd like to read those. I don't think they're significant, so most of them are grammatical changes or corrections to words. Nothing big that changes the rules, just editorial changes. Let's go back and talk about a few rule changes from 2022, just as a kind of a reminder. This one involves team boxes, and by state association adoption, the team box may now be extended beyond the 25-yard line. Remember, this was a COVID thing, but still in the rules and still available for those states that would like to adopt that. Also, the change in 1.3.3, this is for game balls. Any official may order the ball changed between downs. Unless the ball is ordered changed by the referee or another game official, Team A scoring a touchdown with one ball, as in Mechanogram A, may not request a different ball for the try, like in Mechanogram B, but may use a different approved ball for the ensuing free kick, as you see in Play Pick C. Jersey rules in Rule 1.4.3 and Figure 1.4.2, Rule 1.5.1C1, and Rule 7.2.5B, exceptions to Rule 7.5.6A. And basically what it says is each player shall be numbered 0 through 99 inclusive. Any number preceded by the digit 0, such as 00, is illegal, and the rationale behind this is just the single-digit number is now a legal number. Back to definitions 2.3.8, a chop block is a combination block by two or more teammates against an opponent other than the runner, with or without delay, where one of the blocks is below the waist and one of the blocks is above the waist. A chop block was redefined in 2022 as an illegal combination block where contact is made above and below the waist. A reminder about 3.4.7, this was also a 2022 rule change. This changed the offended team's game clock options following a foul committed with less than 2 minutes remaining in either half. When a foul is committed with less than 2 minutes remaining in either half, the offended team has the option to start the game clock on the snap. In Mechanical-gram A, Team B trails. When Team A fouls, Teams B coach is consulted in Play Pick B, and they choose to decline the penalty, but they want the clock started on the snap. Another option regarding the clock in 3.6.1A1E Exception 2, this was also new in 2022. When the clock stopped due to Rule 3.5.7I and Team B is the only team to foul, the play clock is reset to 40 seconds. This added a new exception in 2022 to the play clock administration following a foul committed by the defensive team. We're going to spend very little time on 1.5.1C3. This rule change in 2019. The purpose of the numbers on the jersey is to provide clear identification of the players. In order to enhance the ability to easily identify players, the committee has clarified the size requirements for jersey numbers through the 2023 season. The committee also added a new requirement that, effective in the 2024 season, jersey numbers must be a single solid color that clearly contrasts with the body color of the jerseys. This really does not affect officials in any way. Also, here's another reminder, 1.5.1C, 1.5.1C6, and you can look over another slide regarding the 2024 football jersey number rules. Actually, we have several slides that you can take a look at. Feel free to pause these if you would like to take additional time to study these important changes to the jerseys. The following points of emphasis were selected by the NFHS Football Rules Committee for the 2023 high school football season. These 3 football points of emphasis need to be stressed to all coaches, game officials, players, parents, school administrators, appropriate healthcare professionals, and all others who have an interest in high school football. Helping the runner. Rule changes have made it at higher levels, allowing offensive teams to pile in behind and directly push the runner. Similar plays are trickling down to the high school level, allowing teams to help the runner by illegal techniques. Swings the balance heavily in favor of the offense. Pushing the pile is legal. Direct contact and pushing, pulling, lifting of the runner is not. What we've really got to say with this is, for what we do, if he doesn't directly only contact the runner and push him, if he pushes or blocks anyone else in the pile, we do not have a foul. This is not something I think that we ought to spend a lot of time digging into. Hasn't really been a problem. It's interesting that the Federation picked this rule as a point of emphasis. Communication between coaches and game officials is also a point of emphasis, and we talk about this a lot. Game officials must actively listen to what a coach is saying, then respond factually and unemotionally. Look at Play Pick A. If coaches show little respect for game officials and make derogatory comments, their players will likely treat game officials similarly. See Play Pick B. Coaches and game officials must demonstrate respect for one another. The mutual appreciation is the foundation of appropriate and professional communication. Football's an emotional game. Coaches and game officials must realize that competition often leads to intense interactions on the field. Both must work together and strive to manage verbal and nonverbal exchanges in a way that avoid escalating conflict. Game officials must recognize their role in the game to provide a service to the coaches and student athletes in an unemotional and impartial manner. Game officials must always be respectful and maintain a calm demeanor in their comments to coaches, especially when tension is high. Game officials must avoid the urge to argue with coaches who disagree with their decisions. Coaches may ask questions, and game officials should make every effort to be approachable, actively listen, and provide correct and complete answers as soon as possible. Game officials should aim to be direct and concise in their communication of essential information. When emotions are running especially high, game officials should de-escalate tensions and demonstrate empathy and understanding of the coach's perspective. Game officials must anticipate circumstances where coaches may become upset and preemptively defuse the situation. A game official should never threaten the coach with consequences for the behavior, nor should a game official become defensive. If a coach exhibits inappropriate behavior and crosses the line, a game official may choose to penalize the coach for unsportsmanlike conduct. However, throwing a flag should be a last resort. A better approach is to clearly and calmly tell the coach that comments and behavior are unacceptable, and that it's difficult to focus on the on-field action if the coach continues to distract the game official. Coaches model acceptable and unacceptable behavior for their student athlete. If a coach disrespects a game official and makes a derogatory comment, players will behave in the same way. Coaches should win with grace and lose with dignity. Coaches must understand that the football field is an extension of the classroom and must exhibit proper conduct. This includes respecting the decision of game officials even when they disagree, and handling the differences of opinion in a civil and dignified manner. Dialogue with game officials should be constructive and respectful, not confrontational. Handling disagreements in a businesslike manner teaches players good sportsmanship, which is a perennial focus of the National Federation of High Schools. Coaches and game officials have a professional responsibility to demonstrate respect for one another and to communicate appropriately. Coaches and game officials love the game and desire to positively impact young people. Proper communication during competition teaches players a valuable life lesson about conflict resolution. Last but not least, let's talk about game management. Each school community must take pride in hosting an athletic event or contest. Beginning with the arrival of players, game officials, and spectators, each school must have a purposeful plan to address any and all expected issues as well as unforeseen. Meeting and greeting the visiting team is certainly the beginning of good sportsmanship. Clearly communicating information such as parking information, location of ticket booths, and entry gates when given to the visiting team is another step in assuring a great experience for all participants. That's it for the rule change video. Thanks for sticking with me until the end. I appreciate everything that you do and all the support you've given the association through all of your hard work and dedication. And for those of you outside the state who just follow the video series, thank you for tagging along. We really appreciate what you do in your community to help high school football. Here's my email address, toddallen65@gmail.com. If you have any ideas or comments or just something you'd like to share, I absolutely love hearing what's going on in your officiating career. For the Arkansas Association of High School Officials, this is Todd Allen saying I hope to see you on the field real soon.